What's up, everybody? Cameron here, FrameRate Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about Hi-Fi Rush. In the last one, I recommended to Robert, and he's played it now, and we have to discuss it. Robert, what are your thoughts about Hi-Fi Rush? And also, how you doing?
Yo, I'm doing pretty good. I appreciate the recommendation of Hi-Fi Rush. Definitely was not on my radar. One of those games where people just talked a lot about it and said, "Oh, this is a great game. This is awesome game. Love it." And then I was like, "Well, hey, I gotta play it." But at the same time, I was like, I have this like FOMO with games where I'll buy games and I'll keep buying games and I don't get to play them, right? So then I was like, nope, I gotta stop it. I don't care. I'm not playing this game. And then you're like, "Hey, Robert, you're playing this game." And I'm like, "Okay, cool."
That's extremely relatable, though, by the way. I've probably bought like 5 games last week and haven't touched a single one.
Yeah.
I buy them when they're on sale, though. Like, I bought Inside because it dipped down to like $2. And I was like, I gotta buy this. But, yeah,
that was on my list. My rule is if a game's not under $5, I'm not gonna buy it.
Oh.
On my wish list. Just because, like, I don't know. It's just gonna sit and collect digital dust anyway, right?
Yeah. And like during Steam sales, games will always dip that low, so it's good to like just keep an eye out. There's no rush too. I mean, there's no Hi-Fi Rush. Hey.
Yeah. So, like, I booted it up, and my immediate thought was like, "Wow, this feels like Splatoon." Like the music and the art style and everything. Yeah, it was like super,
very vibrant,
very funny. So I was like, I didn't really know what I was getting to. I know you said, "Oh yeah, it's a rhythm game," and so I was like, "Oh yeah, totally. I'll take a look when So whatever. I started playing it, and I'm like, I am having the hardest time adjusting to the beat, and I'm like, I feel like I'm good with music. I took a while to adjust, and ultimately I actually found out that there is a big latency on my Bluetooth headset.
Oh, no! Shoot. Okay.
And once I wired in, it was beautiful, golden, easy. Oh. My timing was significantly better once I played the headphones with the headphones in. But yeah, 45 minutes roughly of playing through the game with this output lag.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. That sounds like, yeah, definitely playing on hard mode. It almost sounds like those stories of people playing Rock Band or Guitar Hero on like the wrong TV, you know?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, yeah. So I don't remember, like, I was playing it and I was like, I feel like I didn't have this much time like adjusting on Clone Hero, and then I was like, wait a minute, Clone Hero does a lag adjustment for you, which is Guitar Hero for the PC. So I went through and I was like, Hi-Fi Rush doesn't do a correction, so it's like your audio thing isn't working. You're gonna need to figure out your hardware, and I'm like, that's cool. So then I just, luckily my headphones have a headphone jack on them, so I plugged right in, and it was no problem.
Thank goodness. I'm glad that it had the wired option. I couldn't imagine trying to play through the whole game like that.
I wouldn't have. I'd have been like, Cameron, this game kind of sucks.
This game sucks. What are you doing?
And then I got my Steam Deck, and then I turned on the Steam Deck, and the B button on that did not work.
Oh,
so then I had to go send it back, and then they're like, well, we couldn't recreate your problem, but we replaced the part anyway. So then I got it back, and it worked, and it works great, and then I ended up playing the rest of it on my Steam Deck anyway, so the audio didn't even matter.
I take issue with their wording there, by the way. Like, they didn't need to tell you that they couldn't recreate it. They just be like, hey, problem fixed.
I don't know. I almost appreciate the transparency.
I guess so. But like, I'd almost prefer not to know. They'd be like, "Hey, we took care of you." It's like, cool. That's all I need to know. They're like, "Yeah, you're crazy, but we got you." No,
just gaslighting me.
Yeah, for real. They're like, "No, you're crazy. Nobody else has ever had this issue before."
Well, because I think what happened was I factory reset it. So I set it up, it didn't work. Factory reset it, didn't work, and then I factory reset it again because after I factory reset it the first time, I loaded it all up with all my stuff, and then it still didn't work. So then I reset it to send it back, so I didn't have any of my info on it when it goes to some rando. And I think that second factory reset somehow is the thing that fixed it.
Oh, weird.
Or I don't know, or maybe they are lying. Maybe I don't know.
They're just lying to you.
Yeah, I used all the tools, all the diagnostics. I did everything before I even contacted Steam support, but it was really easy. So,
Hell
you know,
yeah.
there was no we couldn't recreate this, so we're not replacing it, or we couldn't recreate this, so we're charging you a fee. It was just, well, we couldn't recreate it, but
But here you
you're
go.
saying it was happening, so we're going to replace it. So that was
That's
pretty good.
cool. Yeah, so once all the problems got sorted out and everything and you got into the game, how did you enjoy it?
It was pretty fun. It definitely wasn't like I'm in love with this game, top of my list, but it was a fun playthrough.
Hell
I
yeah.
was hoping to like it more, but I guess this is the point where we're just going to get into a bunch of spoiler free, or not spoiler free, full spoiler.
Oh yeah, turbo spoiler time.
Yeah, and we're not no regard for whether or not or calling them out before the spoiler before saying a spoiler.
Yeah.
Which not that I'm going to lead right off on one, but yeah, I liked the game. It was a lot of fun. I liked getting, the triple dash, then getting the parry and getting the hook shot. That stuff was a really fun way to keep things feeling a little fresh. But I I feel like the combat depth wasn't it wasn't engaging for me. It wasn't like I didn't have a ton of fun figuring out, oh, which combo do I want to use to get like this resource back or that resource back. And I played it on normal, so I
Okay.
didn't really need to balance like, oh, I need to get more batteries or I needed to get more health back or like I think I got most general combos with the exception of the air ones because I don't really fight in the air. And then I literally purchased a second special attack and a second special attack slot, and that was it. I didn't buy any other special attacks.
Whoa, okay. That's fair though.
Um,
Also there was like one or two that kind of were that felt better than all the others.
and I didn't even want to experiment because I didn't feel like I was getting enough of the spare parts. And I thought I was like rolling in the spare parts, and then suddenly I wasn't, and I was like, well, I don't really feel like it's worth spending all the spare parts on to experiment with something when what I have and rarely use works. Like I really liked being able to call in my allies, which I didn't really use a lot in the beginning. But like somewhat quickly, I was able to work that out and like call Peppermint in more often, and then using her for my like combo finisher instead, and then also Corsica and Macaron.
Yeah.
So
They had a lot of cool like buddy abilities that you could get too, where like after a parry
yeah,
or something, then you could like trigger one of their like special moves, and like using a lot of different moves was the key to like getting some of the highest scores. Although I didn't really pursue the high scores too much.
yeah, I ended up getting a lot of A's overall.
That's good.
Sometimes my score would be really high, like easily an S, but then my just timing would be like an A or a B. But my clear time was always S, with the exception of like two or three fights.
Let's
I was
go.
always like
So you're kind of schmooving.
clicking through it. Yeah, but part of that was I wasn't really mixing up my combos. Then I'd get like repeat, like combo reducers. You get like a point 0.8 or a point 0.7
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
multiplier if you repeat. So, but I wasn't like too concerned with it. Like the combat was really fun. I was enjoying it, but I like one thing that I couldn't get over was I felt like when I was in the middle of a combo and I had to parry, I'd be like, oh, it sucks. I'd have to give up my combo
Yeah,
to
like
parry.
if an enemy was throwing out an attack at just the wrong time, then you'd have to
Yeah.
dodge, parry, do the stuff. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That happened a lot. There were so many times where it's like there's a ground combo going, but then there's a couple ranged dudes, and it's like shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had a bit of a problem with that. But what else do I want to cover on that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I did have a
go
question
ahead.
actually. Sorry.
Yeah.
In combat, did you ever feel like those moments where you were kind of in a flow state, just kind of like drifting from enemy to enemy?
Not super.
Okay.
I felt like, I mean, like Doom kind of does this, where you see an enemy and then you have to be like, oh, I need to know what to use next. So, you'd see those shields, you'd be like, oh, I need to go find Macaron, but he's got a long cooldown, so now I gotta go drop him once, and then I need to go fight something else. I need to come back and drop him again. And that kind of disrupted the flow, or and then being like, oh, I'm going to use Peppermint because I know that these guys use shields, but then like she would target the wrong person, or I would be just a little too ahead of like the shield coming out like at the beginning of a fight or when they spawn.
Yeah.
So then that also kind of felt bad. And then
Okay, so it was more like there was a lot of enemies that had like flow disruptors in that sense.
I felt, yeah. And then parrying, maybe it's because I wasn't wearing headphones and headphones might have helped. Parrying, I felt was kind of hard because you needed to only listen for audio cues. And there was no directional like indicator, which is tough when the camera's kind of working against you as you wail on an enemy and kind of like work them into a wall. Then the camera's kind of wonky, or if it's just a little too tight, you can't see what's going on, especially with ranged enemies around you. I know that they would try to do like the green circles or lines,
Yeah, or like the lines. One thing
would
that
get really busy.
Yeah, one thing that always helped me with parrying was that not only are your attacks always on beat, but the enemy attacks are always on beat. So sometimes I would just like mash B but on beat, you know.
Yeah, I didn't really go that route. I don't know. I felt like I had a lot of fun. I was always excited to go back and play it some more. But once I beat it, I was like, yeah, that's cool. It's very niche, 100%.
I kind of felt the same way, by the way. I beat it and I was like, okay, there's all this bonus stuff, but like I'm chilling.
Yeah, and also in the beginning, I was like, wow, I feel like they have like fake exploration. It's like, oh yeah, you can go into this room and you can find stuff and that's it. But then a little later on in the game, I felt like the exploration kind of did pan out a little bit more, where it's not just, oh, go into this room on the side.
Yeah.
But like actual, oh, there's a little bit more to explore on the side, on like off the beaten path.
Yeah, it's
especially
like
in the New Game Plus.
It's pretty on rails at the start, but then it opens up more and more.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I also really liked how just like even in some of the first like levels or so, like when you first are walking around, you see like trees and rocks like bouncing on beat.
Well, when I didn't for the first 45 minutes, but afterwards, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like everything moves to the beat, and I was like watching it. I'm like, why? Am I stupid? It took me. I mean, I am, because it took me about an hour to realize what the problem was. But
I don't get it, man. Right on.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the game's like general difficulty? You said you played on normal. I played on normal as well, and there were some fights where I did kind of get like knocked around a bit.
Yeah. There was a couple fights where I used a lot of continues, and I'm trying to remember which one it was.
I know the final boss did kick my butt a little bit.
I think I had to use 1 or 2 continues on Kale. Yeah. I felt like, oh yeah, I did, because what bothered me about Kale's fight, when he's using like the shield, like when he's Dr. Octopus, basically, is he's got the shielded ones that you need Macaron to take down.
Yeah.
And I would throw him out, and he would hit Kale and the hands, but it wouldn't trigger the shield break at all. And it's because you need to wait for him to attack and lash out. And I'm like, well, in a game where part of your combat score is determined by how long you took to beat this enemy, why are you going to do something where like the AI gets into a pattern of not throwing that attack out, and now I have nothing to do about it?
Yeah.
And I just got to sit here and wait and bait it out almost.
That makes sense. That one, I remember learning about it later, but I believe there's like a hidden thing also where if you parry like all of his lasers, then it insta-breaks his shield.
Oh, I did parry some of them, and I don't know if that created an opening, but I just dodged them at some point. I was like, I could try to parry them all, but honestly, nah.
Yeah, it's like if you get the timing just right on the like the laser flow, then it would be like instant opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like each of those fights kind of felt like a dance in a way.
Yeah, I really liked the Corsica fight out of all of them.
Yeah, that was a good one. A standout moment.
Yeah, especially the following cutscene where Chai is just consistently giving her brain damage by bumping her head into things.
Yeah. How did you feel about the tone and humor in the game?
Oh, that was the highlight by far. I mean, to get to like the more art direction of it, like the animation style was great. And I think having that very comic booky feel helped pull everything together of like, Chai is an absolute idiot and he thinks he knows how to do everything.
Yeah,
and
he's like a cartoon goofball, and he actually, like, everybody looks like cartoons for that reason, I guess.
Yeah. And then, there's plenty of good humor throughout. I don't think there are really any standout lines that I was like, ugh, too cheesy. So that was good.
They kind of walked the line in a good way. I know that, like, whenever you write a game like that, you're always in danger of being, like, cringy. And I think they kind of did it in such a way that it was just almost, like, endearingly goofy instead.
Yeah. And then there's other things that, like, really, I mean, like, Community is a very well-known TV show, but still, like, very specific reference where Cinnamon says that Chai is rails ahead, which is a reference to when Pierce tries to coin the term streets ahead, which is like saying that you're like ahead of the curve or whatever,
community
right?
reference? That's awesome. I didn't even know.
And which is funny because then I was watching a podcast. I was listening to a podcast today, and they were talking about something being streets ahead, and nobody pauses to acknowledge that. Hey, somebody just like use streets ahead in like conversation.
That's sweet. That's almost like saying Insano style.
yeah, exactly. So it's
incredible.
I appreciated that. That was pretty funny. I also laughed when they were typing in passwords, and Corsica's password was literally password.
That's beautiful. I listened to a really interesting interview with the design director on the project, and he was talking about like things that influenced him. And for art style, they actually, like, the whole studio, they all went and watched Spider-Verse in theaters when it came out, and then they were like, "Oh shit, we want to do that."
I felt that. It was very, not Spider-Verse specifically, but very comic book.
Yeah.
There were a lot of like pow moments where it would kind of like do an extra couple like frames of freeze on like an impact and like a pow.
Yeah, I love stuff like that where like there's like colorful explosions out and there's like a bunch of dots and the onomatopoeia of it, like wham, pam, bow. In particular, I really like, there's that moment where he, like, at the very start in the first level, you like go up this like launch pad thing and you get to like view the whole campus.
That was super cool.
And then like next to him it just says like whoa. And then
I didn't notice that.
Oh yeah, it's like, it's next to him, he's just like whoa. And then if you're ever standing still, he'll like be tapping his feet to the beat and then snapping, and then like above his fingers there'll be text that just says snap every time he snaps. I was like, that's so
I didn't
cool.
notice that. Oh, another thing, well, I want to come back to the combat, but one of my other favorite jokes in the whole thing, well, narratively, I was like, okay, the parent connection twist was overdone and predictable.
Could have seen it like 10 million miles away.
Like the moment Peppermint is like, doesn't want to be seen on camera, I'm like, oh, so she's related to them. And at first I didn't get a sense of how old the company was, so I was like, oh, she's the founder. And I was like, oh no, she's just related to the founder.
Yeah.
And it was
when I saw Kale's hair and then Peppermint's hair, I was like, yeah, they're related.
And then the better twist, I would say, was that like the mom was under control of the Spectra already.
Yeah.
To be controlling stuff. That was like, okay, I wasn't like super invested in what the mom's fate was anyway, but at least that's.
Yeah, I kind of assumed she was dead.
Yeah, right. But I think also,
Sorry,
dial in on that real quick. That aspect, I think, painted an almost funnier overall picture because Kale literally puts his mom under mind control to do the whole Spectra program, right? And then afterwards, you find out Kale's plan wasn't to do anything truly evil. It's just make people feel more inclined to buy things. I was like, how corporate? And I love the anti-corporate stuff, and it was very funny.
Yeah, it was really good. I definitely enjoyed how they they had all the themes and everything. And Kale is just he was like a lovable antagonist too, in a way, almost.
Yeah, he had a little vibe of like Handsome Jack to him.
Yeah, definitely.
But much less malicious. Which I think is like you've got the power to control people and literally raise armies and stuff, and then he goes, "Nah, I just want people to buy your products more."
Yeah,
like the Robots movie.
Oh man, the Robots movie! What a friggin' callback!
Right.
One thing I was going to ask also was, how'd you feel about that scene near the end where he's like, I am a rock star, like that whole like set piece, that moment, and then all the stuff after that, like the finale? Because for me, I was like, oh, this shit rocks. I've been listening to that song. I'm trying to remember the freaking name of it right now. That song that they play in like the final mission as you're like going through the whole construction site. Like that song is a banger. Just like listen to it on YouTube.
Yeah, I feel like I missed out on the music. It wasn't a game where I felt like I had the chance to really stop and be with the music. And I know that part of it is like, you're supposed to interact with the music because it's a rhythm game, but I felt like I was doing so much of trying to juggle which ally do I need to call in? How do I try to like break up my combos so that, I'm not getting a repeat counter or reducer and all that stuff. So I actually didn't get to appreciate the music a bunch, but I definitely did. Like I was a little more thoughtful in the boss fights and hearing like, oh, what song are they going to play?
Yeah.
I was surprised that they got some big names in there, but at the same time, I don't think I really know any of these songs in my personal life.
I kind of felt that too. I was like, Nine Inch Nails. I don't know this song, but let's go Nine Inch Nails.
All right.
They had some bangers in there though, where like afterwards I listened to them and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. The song that I was talking about is Whirring by The Joy Formidable. That one's good. It's good.
I'm gonna play it right now because
it's good.
Oh yes, yeah. It's funny how you can like play the music cue and I hear the first few seconds and I'm like, yes, that was a very cool sequence. It was like a little cheesy, but I think but without being like, it wasn't supposed to be like truly profound, and I think that's what made it work. Because if they were like trying to really make it a very, very profound moment,
it's not too deep. They're just like, hey, we're friends and we're gonna go kick ass. The end.
Yeah. I'm like, it doesn't go deeper than that. That was the perfect balance before it gets to be too, I don't know, like Kingdom Heartsy, I guess.
Yeah, my friends are my power.
Yeah, because Kingdom Hearts really, in the opposite way, like I love the team aspect in this game, which I love in a lot of games, is like, you're working together with other people, you get to leverage them and stuff. But in Kingdom Hearts, it definitely tries to be more inspirational or motivational or uplifting, whereas in this game, it was just kind of like, this is just how Chai feels, and there's not much more to it, I felt. So, that was cool.
And I like the ending, too, where they're all just, like, hanging out. They go on the car ride. It's like, this is very wholesome.
Yeah. What else? Oh, one other note that I did have.
Oh, yeah.
It was in the lava level. I was like, wow, there's a lot of arrows around here. Like, what would be the, like, in-world rationale for having arrows that point to, coincidentally, where Chai is coming from and to where Chai is going? And then,
that's
like,
a good point.
5 minutes later, I stumble on an email or a memo, and somebody's like, people keep saying I put too many arrows down, but blah blah blah. Like, we need the arrows. There's a lot of arrows, and then I was like, okay,
hell yeah. So they knew what you were thinking and responded to it.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Very self-aware. Super funny. That was probably like one of the highlight moments for me between like what I was thinking was going on and then like what actually like then the game almost responding to my thoughts. That was hilarious.
That's always a good feeling when it feels like the game is reading your mind and then responding. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it's like, whoa. I loved that whole sequence too, because that's something that it's very on the nose, but it's 100% like a metaphor for like the creative process. I think the design director was joking about that being him. But essentially, what was his name? Zonzo? He was like, I want this, make it bigger. And they're like, we don't have the budget. What are you doing? You have to like blow his whole budget. That was pretty cool.
I loved that like, it was like you have to blow his budget. And obviously, like, you didn't have to do anything. You just needed to keep fighting.
And you had like Agumon even.
Framing. Yeah, it's a very funny framing. I also love that Chai is like the most inflammatory person ever. Like, he had to fight Corsica like 2 more times just because he doesn't know how to be a human.
Talk, yeah. He's just always constantly saying the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
awesome.
like Peppermint's like, wow, that's like such an insightful thing. Like, Chai, you might actually be able to talk her down. And then he immediately puts his foot in his mouth and is like, never mind.
It's like, oh boy, here we go. We
Yeah.
were close to the end, but oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So very cool game. Um,
Hell yeah.
but yeah, like I'm not like I don't know. It's a weird. I found myself wanting to keep playing it, but at the same time, I didn't find myself like looking back. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Not like, oh my god, I loved it.
That's fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the gameplay loop is something kind of more akin to like Devil May Cry,
Mm-hmm.
and that's very much like what not hack and slash per se, but it's like action. Shoot, I'm trying to think of like the exact like verbiage of it, but yeah, like arena action. Getting S ranks and stuff, and moving on to the next fight. So like
Yeah.
the story's there to kind of string you along, but at its core, it's very much just like combat fighting, a lot of different combos, trying to mix up the combos and trying to be like as stylish as you can in the fights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that to me doesn't really draw my attention too much.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it was still a great time. Uh, Definitely, there was never a moment of like I wasn't playing out of obligation. I think is the most important thing for me.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear because I know that like sometimes I'll rephrase it. Basically, if I ever recommend a game, that would be like my number one fear. It's like no, beat it because you want to. Don't beat it because you have to. Even though in this challenge we do have to, but you know what I mean.
Right. And like I wouldn't even say there's anything wrong with that because here and there we're gonna miss eventually on game recommendations of like, hey, this just was much more of a Robert game, or this was just much more of a Cameron game, and that's fine. If we ever get to that situation, obviously, but no, luckily this wasn't a moment like that by any means.
Hell yeah.
So,
So I need to find something else that definitely feels like a big miss. Let's go.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad you had a
yeah.
good time. I'm trying to think of any other questions. We talked about like difficulty, music, art, story, even. I'm thinking, yeah. Are there any other notes that you have?
No, that's all my notes actually. I think it's a little harder for me to take notes when I'm playing handheld, but at the same time, um, it's convenient that I can just like have my phone in my lap. But I think I got all the major points that were kind of running through my head, and between the discussion and your questions, I think that kind of covers it all.
Nice. In that case, like, what's a kind of rating that you're feeling in your gut, like out of 10?
Out of 10, I'd say probably like a 7.
Okay, okay.
Which I always feel like anything under 8 is harsh, but I'm like thinking, like when I think back, I'm like, well, like what's an 8, right? And so I just don't think it's like an 8 level for me personally, but I mean it's
Yeah.
I thought it was a super fun game. I trying to stay on the positive side of, it's a 7.5 in there.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I think like 7 is ultimately still a pretty damn good score. A lot of people
Yeah.
for video games, it's like the common discourse. I don't know why, but it's like anything that's like 6 or lower is viewed as like horrible. But even then, like I've played 6s and had a damn good time, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think a 6 is like a game that's really fun but overstays its welcome.
Yeah. Or
That's
something
that's
that's like close to being fun, It's like there's some good ideas, but they just didn't push them.
Yeah, I can see that too.
I've played plenty of games like that where it's like this is close, this is almost good, or like this is if they just doubled this part right here.
Yeah. All right. So,
Well,
yeah, what would you have scored it, by the way? I'm
I
not
was
sure if we normally
thinking
do this,
maybe
but
8 or 8.5 probably.
okay. Yeah.
Just because like I've played Devil May Cry, and I kind of like click with the whole like flow state. I totally agree with what you were saying about like enemies disrupting, but there were plenty of moments in combat too where like I felt just kind of like, I'm trying to think of the word. It's almost like euphoria, ecstatic. Like you're just kind of like you're bobbing your head and you're kind of like landing hits on the beat and you feel like unstoppable. And when those moments click, like when the stars align, it's like a feeling unlike any other. So it's part of the reason that I also like movement-based games like Neon White or games where you schmoove. Just kind of like those moments where like all the stars align and it's like bam, 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 like like ultimate dopamine.
Yeah. Neon White's a great example of a game where I felt like getting into that like that mental state of just one with the game. 100%.
Yeah, that's what I always look for. So for a lot of my recommendations, it'll either be a game like that, or maybe it'll be a game that pursues a story. I don't know. We'll see. I know that you've said you like games with good stories, so I've been thinking about what to recommend next. But we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Well,
yeah, that was good. That was a good discussion on Hi-Fi Rush. That was very good stuff.
Yeah. So now I think we can move to my recommendation here.
Oh, let's go.
And actually, I don't know what I want to recommend you because I like had a couple games in mind, and I was like, what do I want to talk to Cameron about? Because there's like so many games, right?
Oh yeah.
So I want to give you an opportunity to make a choice here.
Interesting. Is it like could it be hidden, like what's behind door A and what's behind door B, or is it going to be like exposed, like just pick this right?
Oh yeah. No, I'm not going to tell you what games I've got on the table because I was like I had one and I was like one or two, and then Steam was like look at all these games on sale, and I'm like, oh, but these games are good.
We could do like a roulette wheel
at some point. That'd be pretty funny. I might have to do that in the future. So I guess it kind of comes down to, are we looking for like, what kind of game do you want to play next? Like tight gameplay or something a little more slow at your own pace? Okay. That's a little more involved in like the world around you.
Okay. So those are the choices then? Like tight gameplay or a little slower?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I'll actually we just talked about a game with tight gameplay, so I'll pivot and I'll select the second option.
Okay. So now, do you want?
Oh shit! It's filtering
to finish an adventure that you've started, which you probably know what that one is, or do you want to take a new path?
I think since I have a suspicion of what the first one is, in the interest of surprise, I'll select the second one here, the new path.
All right, then my recommendation to you is Inscription.
Oh, okay, hell yeah, I'm definitely interested.
Inscription was a game that I could not put down. Like, I had to be torn away from playing it. Obviously, it's a bit card-based gaming.
Yeah.
I know that there have been some critiques as to, like, the gameplay kind of, like, being turned on its head after, like, the first whatever.
I'm into that, though.
But honestly, like, it doesn't get stale. You don't, like... It doesn't throw away every single mechanic anyway.
Yeah, that's an interesting critique.
On them in a new way.
That's an interesting critique too, because I would almost prefer that. I mean, of course, like when you go into a game, you kind of have an expectation, and it's nice when the game meets those expectations throughout. But I love kind of more like weird off the walls type stuff, and I'm looking forward to having my mind blown when that switch is flipped in Inscription. I'm very interested.
Yeah, I think it does a good job of, like, it still keeps the same core mechanics, and it's not like, oh, everything that I've spent the last few hours learning is wasted now.
Okay.
I think that's the most important thing about how they do that makes it work.
That's really cool then. So it like builds upon your knowledge but tests you in an unexpected way.
Indeed. Yes.
Oh, I'm very into that. Is the game pretty spooky? I'm a kind of a baby with spooks.
It's not. Okay. I mean, it's definitely got like a creepy vibe to it, but it's not spooky, I wouldn't say.
Nice. That's good. I'm not going to be sweating and shitting,
Oh, shit. No, you should be good. Sure. Yeah. That wasn't even actually like on the table for what I was thinking about.
Oh. On the table like a bunch of cards.
I was just kind of reminded. Yeah. Look at you finding the puns.
Hey, bada bing. It's a weak pun, but we'll take it. I can. I think I have it already, and I think I have it installed already. Actually, too. Let's go.
Hit the ground running, I guess.
Let's freaking go. Time to play some Inscription. Well, hell yeah! Thank you very much for the recommendation. I will be checking this out very soon.
Yeah.
Hell yeah!
All right. So from there,
yeah. Do we have any like news stories or anything like any games on our radar we want to chat
well,
up?
how about what do you have going on in terms of like games you're playing or anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah. So the only thing that I have to talk about, actually, I haven't played too many games. Well, okay, wait. I did play a little bit. I recently beat Final Fantasy VI, and it was really good. I think it might be my favorite Final Fantasy now. I've essentially completed my marathon now, out of order, but I've played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 now. I haven't beaten 9, but I have beaten 10. And if I do recommend a Final Fantasy one of these days, that would be a fun one to play. Otherwise, though, a lot of what I've been doing personally is just like more Pokemon Essentials stuff, tutorials here, and then I'm going to be hosting a game jam over the next week where we're all making games. We have like over 40 participants, which is blowing my mind.
That's awesome. And they're all single-person teams, right?
Yeah, so there's going to be 40
That's
games
insane.
potentially. So that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, thank you. Who knows? Maybe in the next one we'll have even more. 50 participants.
Wow.
But there were some damn good games from the last one, too. Games that I would still recommend to anybody. Like, if anybody's interested in playing Pokemon fan games, play Pokemon Culinary School. Play Pokemon, like, The Apocalypse. Those are fun games.
I love it.
Hell yeah, thank you. Other than that, the only other thing that I played was a little bit of Persona 3. That's a good game, too. But
nice.
Yeah, how about you? What you been playing?
I've been, let's see. So I beat. What was I playing before Hi-Fi Rush? I was slow to start Hi-Fi Rush because I was playing The Witness. So I beat The Witness.
Yeah. Oh, you should totally play The Looker.
I have that downloaded so that I can play that when I find the time.
It's really short. It's like it's so short, but it's so funny. I recommend it.
I've heard a lot of good things about it, and actually, that's kind of what got me interested in The Witness. The Witness was a cool game. I almost got like impatient with it towards the end, which I've found myself doing with a lot of games. But it's really good at like still giving you like a new puzzle and refreshing puzzle mechanics every like area of the world.
That's good. So it does still feel like kind of fresh each way you go.
Yeah, I just like the puzzles weren't so engaging to me that I'm like, oh, I gotta make sure that I spend the rest of my time beating all of the puzzles because there's like an overload to it. It's such a dense world with so many different puzzles.
Yeah, and aren't some of the puzzles like not even that interesting? Like some are, but aren't there some where it's just like draw the one line? So like the game touts itself as having like 800 plus puzzles or something, but some of them are like barely puzzles.
I mean, they're all draw the line, but
like some of them are just like straight line, like no thought.
I wouldn't say that. Maybe like the beginning to teach you the mechanics, or maybe if it's like you saw me playing a little bit where it's like, oh, you need to like draw the line, but the question is how do you get it's not a line on like a tile sheet, it's a line in the world, and it's like how do I get that exposed in the real world? So
the line mirroring one looked really cool too, where like you would draw one but then another like adjacent line would start drawing. Hell yeah.
So it was a really cool game. I think there's only one puzzle type that I just couldn't do, and that was like you need to like listen to birds chirping, and you find the one that's like chirping at the right rhythm to then like do the like pitch.
I've heard that one stumped people too. Sorry, I was like kind of cutting you off, but
You're good.
I've heard that that's the one area that a lot of people are like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
I knew what I needed to do, and I just like I'm not doing this.
Are you familiar with the YouTube channel Joseph Anderson? He does really long video essays, and he did one about The Witness, and it was a very interesting watch. So now that you've beaten the game, if you don't care about spoilers, that would be a good one, because he rips into things that are bad, but he also praises things that are good. So I would give that
Yeah,
one a recommendation.
I'll check out his channel later because I did find his witness video.
Yeah.
I Yeah, it was cool. Oh, I just looking at his channel, I had another video game recommendation that was floating around that I could have gone even further, but we're on Inscription, so
Oh, okay. No
um,
spoilers then in that case, because it's something that
no
might
spoilers.
might be recommended in the future.
I don't know. At this rate, I got way too many
Ha
games
ha ha.
to recommend. Um, so yeah, I beat The Witness. Played Hi-Fi Rush. Been playing Zelda with Ashlyn. We're getting
Let's
ready
go.
for Tears of the Kingdom, which I can't wait to talk about
Oh,
in a moment here.
yes.
But I also started playing Moonlighter,
Oh,
which
I've
is a
heard
pretty
good
fun
things
game.
about that one. That's the one that's like kind of pixel art and you kind of run a shop, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's like so you know how Cult of the Lamb is like uh kind of like
Animal Crossing
meets like
dungeon.
Dead Cells. Yeah.
Yeah.
I say Dead Cells because it's like you
Maybe
get a
like
random weapon in the beginning specifically.
maybe Binding of Isaac then?
Does Binding of Isaac do that too, where you get a random weapon in the beginning?
I think it gives you a lot of random abilities and items, but at the
Okay.
start when you pick your character, that's like a non-random. But yeah,
Yeah.
very kind of roguey dungeony.
Yeah. So Moonlighter is that. And actually, when I play Moonlighter, I think Binding of Isaac. I haven't played too much of it, but
Oh.
I think you're dropped into this like top-down room, and the dungeony aspect of it feels a bit like Binding of Isaac to me in my memory from like 9 years ago when I last touched that game.
Yeah.
And then you mix it with like shopkeeping, so you go into the dungeons, you collect gear, you if you don't die, you bring it back and then you sell it and then you use that to upgrade your town. And it's really fun.
Oh, I
There's
love
always a
stuff like that.
challenge. Yeah, there's always a challenge with like your shopkeeping when you've got a new item. Because like I found an item or an artifact and I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm gonna sell this for, I don't know, 50 coins. And then somebody's eyes light up with coins, which basically means, hey, you sold this for way too cheap of a price.
Oh shit.
And I'm like, okay, no big deal. And then I like sorted my bag by price, and then it was like towards the top of my bag, so it means it's the most expensive. And I was like, oh no!
I
And
could
then
have
I
sold
sold it
that
for
for
like
way more.
100 coins.
Whoa,
The
holy
next
shit.
time. Yeah. So
That's interesting that you get to
um,
set the price. I don't know if I've seen many other games do that. It's kind of cool.
yeah, I mean, you can always Google like what's the ideal price, the perfect price for everything, and then
Uh-huh.
go based on that as like a pretty good template.
Are there
But part
any
of the
like
game
are there any
mistakes.
rival shopkeeps that you can go and like kind of visit to see like roughly what they're doing and then maybe undercut them as if it was like ice strawberry brandy?
So actually, there is a guy that sells that you can get in your shop to sell things. The idea being like, oh, if you're looking for something that's kind of rare, you'd rather just spend the money to get it than have to go dig for it. But he sells them at a higher markup than what people will buy from you, even. So you can
Oh,
use him
like a frame of
as like a
reference.
measuring tape or frame of reference to be like, oh yeah, if he's selling it for this, then I should sell it for that.
Okay, that's kind of cool. I've always been a huge fan of games also where you can kind of like build up a town. It reminds me of a Rogue Legacy, if you ever played that, where at the very start you have like a mansion for your family, and as you go into this castle and die, your next of kin is born, and you can select like what their class and abilities are going to be, and it's kind of like randomized, but you can spend the money that you inherited essentially to upgrade that mansion. So then the next of kin is a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger, and you go through like generations and generations building up this mansion. And before you know it, it's like, oh, everybody has double health and they do this much more damage, and we've even unlocked this new class. Oh, I'm knocking stuff over here. But yeah, Rogue Legacy is fun.
That's not the first roguelite, but that's definitely the first one that I heard about because you were playing it in college and you were like telling us all about how
Yeah,
cool
it's
it was.
fun.
Because I remember you saying almost exactly what you just said word for word like 10 years ago.
Yep. Oh man, it's a tried and true formula. I wonder what really the first like roguey type game is, because I know there's Rogue and then Roguelite. I know Binding of Isaac is one that was like really big, but I imagine that there must have been like a Flash game or even some sort of other game that had like cross playthrough progression.
Yeah, I really don't know, but I like the fact that the term is not roguelike, but it's roguelite.
Yeah.
But roguelike has basically just replaced it. which is interesting because like if you look at the tags on like Rogue Legacy, it's tagged as a roguelike. And Roguevania, which is interesting.
Roguevania. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. I'm looking it up, and it's so the term roguelike derives from the 1980 game Rogue. The first known game with the core roguelike gameplay elements was Beneath Apple Manor in 1978, and it's like a text-based looking thing. Okay. That's
But what's funny is when you talk to like
Spelunky. Sorry, what's up?
game nerds, it's always roguelite.
Yeah.
It seems to be like the hardcore like
Actually, I guess Diablo is also one that like
oh
is roguelike. Spelunky might be the first roguelite, but Rogue Legacy that used roguelite the first in its description. Interesting.
yeah.
All these games.
Yeah, so a lot of games in that realm. I'm liking Moonlighter. The combat doesn't feel as polished as it should be, I think. Sometimes it feels kind of bad. But part of that is also just getting good. So I'll be playing that.
What do you think is your favorite roguelite type game? Would it be Dead Cells potentially?
No, it'd be probably Hades. I mean, that's just kind of like
how could I forget Hades?
like what else could I pick, right?
Holy smokes. I forgot about Hades. I feel bad about that.
I never actually beat Dead Cells. I got pretty far in it, and I was like, "This is cool." And then I didn't like fully resonate with the concept of a roguelite. So, like now, I would probably go back and like crush it if I felt like it. But
If I felt like it.
but no, not at the moment.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
yeah, Hades is kind of like the easy answer,
Hades
and
nuts.
probably the right answer.
Yeah. They're making Hades 2 now, too. That's crazy. Supermassive.
And that's what's coming
doing a
out this
sequel.
year.
Whoa. Damn. Did you see that recently they had a sale? I was so close to pulling the trigger and buying Pyre, but I was like, I already got so many other games to play.
Yeah, Pyre is like not. It's cool. It's not really like what I'd expect from Super Giant games, though.
Oh, that's right. Is it Supergiant? Did I say Supermassive? Whoops. That's a whole different...
Did you?
I think I did. Supermassive Black Hole. Aren't Supermassive the ones that do like the horror games like Until Dawn?
I thought Supermassive did. Yes, you're right. They do Until Dawn.
Hey, let's go.
I was thinking of I think Monster Revolver or Digital Revolver, and they did Cult of the Lamb.
Ah.
Because that's who's on the Steam front page. So that's my brain kept running too.
Oh, yeah. Devolver Digital, yeah?
Devolver Digital. What I'm mashing up a bunch of different things.
I'm right there with you, though. I'm out here saying Supermassive, Supergiant, DigiPen, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, Devolver Digital. Thank you.
Hey, no worries. They do a lot of like interesting stuff. They
when I see their name on something. Yeah, when I see their name on something, I'm like, ooh, like they published Inscription.
Oh, sick.
I'm like, oh, that's cool. They published Cult of the Lamb. That was one of the stamps of approval there. And Cult of the Lamb is not by any means like a gameplay masterpiece, but it's a very fun game, very unique, very awesome.
They had a new big update to it recently, I think. Also, yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
if they did, I may have to go back and play it.
I think there's a big update that just came out. So that'd be cool.
Ooh, 6 days ago.
Let's go.
Maybe we'll be going back to that.
Hey.
Another. Yeah, we're.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say another company that I also think has like a similar kind of stamp of approval or the prestige is Annapurna.
Yep.
When I see that,
published
I'm like,
my absolute favorite game,
which is
your other option.
Oh. Okay. I was like, I'll keep it under wraps, but I think I know.
Yeah. I don't think it needs to be a secret.
I think they also
it's Outer Wilds.
Oh, there we go. I have revisited it.
Yeah.
Since, and I made a little bit more progress, but then I also I overcame my fear of the water level.
Yeah, that level is like super overwhelming when you first get there, and then like once you feel a little bit more comfortable, it's more like once you realize like, it's not like. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
you're kind of fine.
Fight me, I'm like, I don't really care. Like, what are you gonna do? Kill me? Come on. That don't matter.
Come on, come on.
Come on, hey, bada bing. But yeah, I think
Bada bing.
Annapurna also did Neon White, and they also
Yes.
did Obra Dinn, I think.
Obra didn't. That was another one on my list that I was like, should I mention this to Cameron?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
So there's no shortage of good games to choose from, is what I'm hearing.
Indeed. And if you pick up any of those games outside of the podcast, we can still talk about them in this in this time.
Hell yeah. I would definitely be down. I'm going to keep an eye on them, see if they go on sale and stuff too.
Yeah.
And then just go.
Oberdin was. That game had me, like, I was in bed playing on my Switch, like, under the cover so I wouldn't wake Ashlyn up.
And you were just like, ooh, who killed this pirate?
Yeah. I mean, which pirate is this?
Which pirate? That's right. Yeah. Just goes to show how much I know about the core gameplay, Lupa. It's like, is this person even a pirate? I don't know.
Ooh.
Maybe they're not. Maybe they're a pirate because they're lying. Ooh. Got him.
Got him.
Friggin' got him. Bop.
Got team.
Skip. Hell yeah. Do we want to talk a little bit about Tears of Le Kingdom?
Yeah. We've actually been playing that a little bit, or playing Breath of the Wild, just to get ready for it. Like, Ashlyn's never beat the game, so we're playing it now.
Oh, hell yeah.
All we needed to do is do Rudanya, and then we got the DLC on her profile, so she did
let's go.
one of the sword trials, and then we did all of the Champion's Ballad. So now she's got her motorcycle.
Nice. I actually never did the DLC, so
Dude, the Champion's Ballad is really fun.
oh hell yeah.
And then the Master Sword trials are cool too, but they're just combat. So they're still creative and they still drive you to be smart and clever, and they're still fun, but I have more fun doing like the more realm exploring stuff than the combat.
Yeah, that's fair. I've definitely seen some good stuff come out recently about Tears of the Kingdom. I could send you a video. It might be a little spoilery, but the YouTuber SkillUp was invited to like a hands-on thing, and they actually let him record.
I watched a little bit of somebody's video.
Yeah, I think I sent you his video back when we were talking about Tiny Tina. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. But yeah, I'd recommend that. That's a pretty good one. He talks about pros and cons within Tears of the Kingdom, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, there are some times where at least the build he was playing on, he did say the gameplay experience felt like it was hindered by being on Switch hardware.
Yeah, that's what I expect, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And there's a or it's confirmed that Nintendo is doing a
Switch 2?
a big announcement in September.
Oh.
And everyone's speculating, or a lot of the speculation that I'm reading is that it's going to be some sort of hardware.
Hell yeah.
So
I just had the dumbest thought. What if, you know how there was the Wii and the Wii U? What if instead of calling it the Switch U or something, they called it the Switch, where it just has two eyes? It's like Switch.
The Switch.
Switch. That way it has Wii in the name. It's the Switch.
Honestly, I would buy it.
Oh, I'm buying it no matter what. I don't give a fuck what they call it.
I'd buy the name alone, but yeah, you're right.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
If this device can play Smash Bros, I must own it. Sorry.
Yeah, I was pretty excited by what I saw in like the new trailer. The new trailer was huge.
Oh man, I got goosebumps when like the music kicks in, and like he's like skydiving, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. I'm still convinced that we're gonna see.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I still haven't changed my mind that Zelda's gonna be playable in it, but more so, I'm still convinced that Mifa's gonna or Midna's gonna be in it from Twilight Princess.
Oh wow, that'd be interesting to see.
A lot of people on Reddit are calling out like the musical cues that point to other Zelda franchises.
And
There's been this.
It'd be more than just like orchestral nods. You think it would actually be like thematic, like hints? Maybe? Or?
I'm hoping.
That'd be cool.
But also when you look at the new Pro controller, it's got one black and one white handle thing, and that's her character design.
Oh, I see. Like the whole like helmet that she has and like the patterns in it.
No, just like her legs. Like she's got one black leg and one white leg.
Oh, I see. It's like the whole point is like the duality, the light and darkness.
Yeah, and so I think that like when I see the controller, she's just immediately who I think of.
Okay. I don't want to poo-poo it, but could that not also be the duality between like Zelda and Ganon?
I mean, it could be. I mean, I'm being a little hopeful boy over here.
Yeah, and I will not pop your balloon because I think that'd be very cool for Minna to be in as well.
But like there's definitely like the Skyward Sword aspect of having everything in the sky.
What if the birds from Skyward Sword just showed up out of nowhere? That'd be
Dude,
sick.
I would kind of be down though.
Flying in the sky, dude.
Yeah. So I'm expecting like for whatever reason Nintendo decided to jump on the whole like timeline validating the whole like timeline situation, and they put Breath of the Wild as like the one of the story that like where everything kind of comes back together, and there's a term for that I can't think of. But
convergence.
Yeah, between the three timelines
Shit.
of
That's actually pretty big.
Ocarina of Time's ending.
I didn't realize that was a thing. Like that's the converging point, Breath of the Wild.
I'm not sure if it's the converging point, but it's the next game in the timeline as Nintendo themselves even recognize it. And for all three games, for all three timelines. So, like, I'm not like there could be another game that I guess what I'm saying is there could be a game before Breath of the Wild that's like the converging point.
I see. But this is kind of like after all the timelines have converged.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of really enjoyed the multi-timeline thing that they did though, because it's like it's a remix of the same kind of themes and characters, but told in a different way. So something like Ocarina of Time does feel different than something like Wind Waker, but there's still like so many similarities within the themes. It's like, oh well, the light shines through the darkness and Link defeats Ganon, but like how that story is remixed, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like I'd almost be down for them to introduce new timelines. I don't know.
Yeah, well, what's funny too is like Wind Waker is, I think the Wind Waker is a timeline when Link loses to Ganon, right? And then Ganon is like floods the whole world or whatever.
I think so, yeah. Like Hyrule is just lost. Hyrule's under the sea with
and
Ariel and Sebastian and shit.
It's better done where it's wetter.
Yeah.
And then and then Skyward Sword is like the very first game before any timeline split and stuff.
Oh yeah,
I really think the timeline stuff is just kind of silly.
Was that the one with was that Calamity Ganon or is that the Breath of the Wild? Because
Breath of the Wild is Calamity Ganon.
Because in Skyward Sword there was the Ganon, he just looked like a big old worm. Or maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but he looked very weird. He was like a big, like fuzzy, like black mouth.
He's just known as Demise.
That's it. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, and then Girahim is the one that's trying to like raise him from the dead, kind of like Zant in Twilight Princess.
Yeah, that's right.
I
forgot about
replay that game. Love that game. Twilight Princess is one of my absolute favorites.
Yeah, I would love to revisit that as well. I haven't played it in so long. I think I remember first playing it like on the Wii and being like, look, you can swing the thing and he swings the sword. Look how cool that is. It was like kind of off too.
Yeah, I was going to say, be prepared for that to not live up to your memory.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think towards the end of Twilight Princess, I was just shaking the sword up and down and Link would just be doing like rapid attacks.
Yeah.
I'd almost rather play it on the GameCube because it also came out on that.
Yeah, but then the map is all flipped and then you're like, wait a minute.
Oh, that's right. What the fuck? They did that whole thing where it was like most people are right-handed, so it's like, let's flip the map to like the right.
Yeah, and Zelda's been right-handed ever since. Had to correct myself.
Hey, good. Thank you. We don't want another Metroid situation on our hands. That actually seems like that would be kind of fun though, to play the non-flipped version and just be like, this is a whole different world. It's like a remix.
Yeah, I that game I think did the best job for me of like creating different regions of Hyrule and putting them in their own pocket, without it being like overwhelming. Like, because obviously Breath of the Wild does the best job, but at the same time, wherever you are in the world, I still feel like, oh, I'm still like on the same map. Whereas, for better or for worse, in Twilight Princess, I felt like, oh, I'm in this other area, like in this other small pocket. I felt like I
Yeah.
was in a completely different place.
I felt the same way in like Majora's Mask even. It's like
Yeah.
I'm in a whole different world right now. I mean, like the this versus that. I mean, I guess there were some similarities that kind of grounded things, like if you could look up and see the moon, and maybe some
Yeah.
mountain ranges, but otherwise, yeah, for the most part, it was very much a disjointed experience.
Which I preferred because it's almost like, oh, I'm in a different realm. Like I think it's cool to see them connected, but at the same time, I liked having being in the desert or being in the mountains and feeling like I am stranded alone in the desert, or feeling like I am up alone on this ice cold mountain. You
Yeah.
know?
It's like it allows you to it allows you to take the experience to more drastically different locations, cuz like if it's all one connected map, like I mean, of course there are still opportunities there to incorporate differences, but like you can't get as drastic as being like we're in a whole nother world right now, baby. Fuck it. We're in a whole different map.
And then it's also hard to like create these like natural to the world barriers that make you feel cut off from everything else on a map as big as Breath of the Wild's.
Yeah.
Like you can't just put up a wall and be like, "Oh yeah, you can't get over there right now."
How crazy is it that Breath of the Wild came out in like 2017?
Yeah, for Majora's Mask to come a year out after Ocarina of Time, I was like, "Oh, Breath of the Wild 2 should be out in like 3 years. Can't maybe 4 years. Can't maybe 5 years. I swear to God, if it's not 6 years."
They spent 3 years working specifically on that fuse mechanic or something, like just like it's crazy.
It really bugged me that everybody thought this was just going to be a DLC, because I'm like, they've been working on this for 6 years. How is this going to really just be a DLC? Like, in what world
Yeah.
do they sit on this for 6 years just to not have any real major differences?
It kind of goes to show that a lot of people online, when talking about video games, kind of have like pea brains where they can really only understand things as far as they can see, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
like if the game looks similar, that's all it takes to be like, oh, it's the same game.
I am a little disappointed that the engine doesn't seem to be better. Or
Yeah.
like, I don't feel like they iterated on the engine from what they've shown.
Well, that's the thing. It's like almost impossible to tell. I bet there's been a fuck ton of improvements, but I mean, regardless, it's still the Switch hardware at the end of the day, so you can really only push it so far.
Yeah.
I'll send you that video later too, but it sounded like in general a lot of things were smooth, but there were points in combat, especially if there's a cluster of enemies where things start really like tanking, or like let's say there's 5 dudes and you throw an explosion at them. Like when that bomb goes off, you're gonna dip to like 10 FPS or less if in that brief instance.
Yeah.
But maybe what if it's just intentional, to make the bomb explosion more impactful?
So I think I've seen a lot of the skill up video actually.
Oh,
Because I think somebody like put a sizzle reel together of it for online somewhere. But one question I did have that maybe is in the video that it wasn't really confirmed online.
Mm-hmm.
Do we not have access to the old runes?
Based on everything that I've heard and seen, it seems like no. And it seems like instead, a lot of these kind of trials are instead like the islands in the sky.
Oh, actually, I'm kind of scrubbing through the skill up video, and I see that there's like a wheel here of abilities, and I don't know what they all are, but I see recall, I see ultra hand, I see ascension, and I see 2 others that I don't recognize.
Yeah, there were some that I didn't recognize either, but
Oh, which one's maybe one is fuse. I don't know which one's fuse.
yeah. The fusion mechanic looks insane. I'm very interested to see that play out. I think that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. I love that, like, you can fuse anything to anything. So it's like, right now he's got a barrel strapped to a shield, and I'm like, what is going to happen?
Yeah.
Is this good or bad?
If anybody hits the shield, it'll just explode.
Right, but is it like when Link wears the bomb mask in Majora's Mask and puts out a shield and it doesn't hurt him?
I think it's like that.
Whereas
Yeah.
Link... Okay.
So it's
Cool.
kind of like, come hit me, hit me.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a scalding hot take for you, by the way, when it comes to Zelda. a lot of people, now that Tears of the Kingdom is coming out, the discourse around durability has resurfaced.
Yeah.
And I feel like people complain too much. That's my hot take. I mean, well, it's not even that hot of a take, but the game is encouraging you to explore and acquire new weapons, and a lot of the people who feel like that attachment to their weapons and don't want to lose anything and don't ever use it are kind of just being babies. That's my hot take.
That's fair. I would counter your point though with, if there was a way to store weapons that you wanted to hold on to for later, that would be like appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. I would love for there to be like a global like item box you could access. That'd be sweet. And who knows, maybe if they add some sort of mechanic where if there was a specific stone you could pick up and it was like a repair stone and it allowed you to like repair durability, then maybe that would alleviate most people's concerns either. Like the item is rare, but you can accumulate it and it can repair. So
Yeah.
like just both of those systems would probably alleviate anybody's concerns.
I mean, my thought is, like, right now we're playing Breath of the Wild and we've got a bunch of guardian weapons that we're holding on to for when we go to fight Ganon, or when we go through Hyrule. And it's like, oh, now we've got to hold on to them, and we basically lose that inventory space because we don't want to waste them, but we don't want to use them right now.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the duality of it, right? Because it's like, if you ever use it, it's actually technically not being wasted because you're using it to progress forward, right? Like
But guardian weapons do more damage against guardian enemies.
Oh, so you want to use them against guardians and okay.
So we're saving it for when it's opportune. And so I'm like, okay with them breaking, but I want to have a place to put them so that I can break them on the thing that I want to break them on.
Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. So you want to get the most out of it. You want to get the most bang for your buck with your stuff.
Exactly.
So you'd want to use it on things. It's almost like a Pokemon, right? You want to throw out your fire when there's grass, and you don't want to throw out your fire when there's water.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Or when you've got that one Pokemon that's got like the stupid, like the one move that's super effective against whatever's super effective against it.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, oh, I need to save its PP for that.
How you said the PP.
PP.
But yeah, I definitely tie everything back to being about Pokemon too.
Yep, I'm aware.
But
so that's all. I agree with durability though. It's like, it's a good way to push you into like not being in this like stupid game loop.
Exactly. It's the entire reason it exists is because they don't want you to use the same weapon the whole time, but it feels like most people want to use the same weapon the whole time.
Yeah. And I think like the Master Sword is one where I'm like, I still don't buy the whole like, oh, it's running out of energy thing. I still think that's kind of dumb. But
maybe what they should have done is just make it so that way like it's stronger when it's charged and then it goes back to its base form rather than being like unusable. Like maybe it'd be cooler to like flip that on its head.
Yeah, because that'd be fine.
Yeah, I think it always feels better in games when you have like a temporary power up instead of a temporary power down.
Yeah.
So yeah, what if it was like, here's its base form, but now here's its powered up form, and you can only get access to that powered up form in certain ways, or maybe after a certain amount of time, as opposed to just being told you can't use it.
Yeah, that'd be better.
Yeah, but then maybe the trade-off is the base form is weak. Yeah.
They make you earn it though with the DLC. You can power up your sword to level 6 to be 60 damage without, and then never run out of energy, I think.
Holy shit. Okay. Well, goddamn, it sounds like I need to play this DLC.
Pretty sure, at least.
Holy schmoly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like games where they kind of force you to pick up and acquire new stuff and move on, even if it means like throwing away old stuff. Just because it's like it's what I like to call consumable anxiety. Like if you're playing a Pokemon game, do you use that potion or do you just run back to the Pokemon Center and save it? You know, so it's like, oh well, I'm never going to use these items ever. But I like games that kind of force you to abandon that thought, or at least come to terms with it. It's almost like if anybody's a hoarder, they need to play these games.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So yeah, I am so looking forward to this game.
It's coming out so soon.
Yeah.
Because today's 4:30 and it's coming out 5/12?
In 12 days, yeah.
Oh!
Comes out in a week from Friday.
Holy moly.
So I'm just so like, I'm playing Breath of the Wild because like what else is gonna keep me, I don't know, like focused on the same thing, right?
Yeah. Plus, it sounds like there's a lot of environmental overlap, so it might be cool to explore these locations that you've just explored in Breath of the Wild, but through a new lens in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I always like stuff like that where they like remix the environment. And you're like, whoa, I've been here. I know this layout.
Yeah, that's part of what people were like upset. They're like, "Oh, this is dumb. Why are we gonna just reuse the same map? Now I know exactly where we are when I look at the map." And I'm like, "You think the designers don't know that?"
Yeah, it's like, hey, maybe play the fucking game, and then get back to me on how much you know about everything.
I mean, everybody knows more than the people that are working on it. Obviously, like,
Yeah. Well, I saw a screenshot, so I know more than I know more.
yeah, like I don't remember what people were talking about. They're like, I don't know why like the city as an entity like does a certain action, and I'm like, well, you know what? I bet you the people that are making these calls from their office with their degrees and experience in this field know more than us who are sitting at the dinner table just shooting the shit over drinks. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
That is funny too when people preface it with "I don't know why," because the answer is yeah, you don't. Yeah. It's like I don't understand it. Yeah, you don't.
You don't.
Yeah. There it is. The answer was introduced in your thesis.
There you go.
Got him. Fucking got him.
It's such a funny yeah, I didn't even think about that. Just like, yeah, you don't know why.
I mean, we could talk about it and maybe you could try to figure out why, but I mean, even then from there it's all just, extrapolation and I mean, who really knows for sure?
Right. So, yeah, cannot wait for that game. That's like we were thinking of getting back to Kingdom Hearts, but I was like, I know that whatever I'm playing, I'm going to drop to play Tears of the Kingdom, which is also why to move on to the last thing that at least I had. Yeah. Jedi Survivor is out, and it's got great reviews, and except for PC performance, and I'm like all about that game. I can't wait to play it, but and I'm not going to play it for like 2 months because I'm going to be playing Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I've got a kid, and I'm playing it with my wife, so
everything it sounds like for Jedi Survivor is like sounds like right now that's the optimal way to approach it. Give it some time to cook in the oven a little bit more. Everything I've heard, a lot of people are like, I can't wait to play this game in 6 months. It's going to be awesome.
Well, see, the thing is, it's only the PC port, and if you have a friend who's buying it for PlayStation, and they're going to lend it to you, then
you get the best of both worlds.
That's a little better. So that's, or and also, like I said, I'm not going to, even let's say I didn't want to buy it and play it day one, I'm not going to get to beat it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, unless you really grind. But even then, in that case, just grind. Would you, in that case, be interested in playing a short game, like something that doesn't take like a couple weeks to beat?
I mean, I'm always down.
Okay.
I've already got one on the docket, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a legally distinct from Pokemon, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, I think you're making a good choice. Yeah. If we're talking about the same game, which I think we are, I heard that the developer of that game smells like a fart, though. So
it's really stinky.
That's one thing to consider going in. That's
go to the beasts, more like no beasts.
Oh, not to dissuade you or anything. Yeah, I'm slowly recruiting a team. I'm working with some very talented devs that I've worked with on fan game stuff in the past. We've brought in somebody else also to help work with music, so we have a really good squad. And we recently started incorporating a cell shaded shader, so things kind of do look a little bit like Hi-Fi Rush / Beautiful Joe now.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're trying to beautify it. I had a talk with them just yesterday about like plans moving forward, because that's one of my bucket list things, or not bucket list, but like
where you die.
Yeah,
kill the game.
Yeah, my 30 list, I guess, is like, I wanted to have a game on Steam before I turn 30. So we'll see. See if I can make that happen. Because I'm running out of time.
Cool. Yeah. That's really cool stuff. Yeah, I love that I ran into Colton in like the first 5 minutes.
That's right. Yeah, he's right there.
Yeah.
Without spoiling it too much, well, I'll spoil it. Fuck it. The game's pretty short. If you keep playing, not only will you find Colton, you'll find Amanda, you'll find me, you'll find John, and you'll find yourself.
Oh.
So without spoiling it too much,
I got to go find and play with myself.
yeah. Well, and then afterwards play Go-Go Beasts.
Yeah.
God damn, it's such an inappropriate joke, and apologies to those who are listening, but I can't get over it. I always laugh at I'm coming and I'm on my way.
Always.
So good.
Yeah. So that's on my list of games to be playing in the meantime.
Yeah, that's a game you can beat in like an hour or 2 hours.
I would have normally beaten it if I hadn't gotten a Steam Deck, but my Steam Deck's kept me away from my PC except for maybe like League of Legends.
Hey, no worries. The goal is for this game to also eventually be playable on your Steam Deck.
Oh,
so that's.
I'll be playing it before it gets on that, but
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, beta testing. Yeah.
Yeah. I could be a beta tester, sure.
Beta. Sweet.
Nice, dude.
Are there any other games like on your radar that you've like bought recently that you haven't played yet that you want to play? Or sorry, I know we're at a pretty good ending point, but
that's fine. Still have Donut County and Journey and Heaven's Vault on that list. I did beat Titanfall 2, which I don't know if we talked about.
I've heard good things about it, and I played the first campaign mission, but I haven't played anything else.
I know you did because you speedrun beat the whole thing, and it's on my friend's leaderboard thing. I was like, Cameron would be trying to schmoove through here, and
I felt like I could totally improve my schmovement too. I was sloppy.
So those games they're all in the pipeline. It did touch a little bit of what's it called? Midnight Ghost Hunt when it was free.
Oh yeah.
It's prop hunty. I saw a little bit of it. It was cool. I think it's still missing a little something for me to like want to go back to it, like to play with friends regularly.
That's fair. Yeah, that's kind of everything I've heard about that game. It's like, oh, it's kind of fun, but like, what else is there? Like, what more am I doing here?
Yeah. So I don't think I've got any other fun updates.
Oh. I'm looking at my list. There's some games that I bought and haven't played yet. I still want to play Rollerdrome. Heard good things about that. I bought Prey. I want to play that because I've heard good things about that. I've played a little bit of Pizza Tower. Pizza Tower fucking rules. I haven't beaten it yet though. And then there's also I want to play Deep Rock Galactic. That game
heard a lot of good.
Yeah, that game I think seems like a really fun like cooperative experience too. And then recently, just the other day, came a game called Cassette Beasts. That's a Pokemon type game, and the art style looks really cool. It kind of reminds me of what's the game? Octopath Traveler in a way, where it's kind of like 3D pixel art, where characters are like walking around the world, but they are pixel art, but there's like shading still. Well, yeah, this looks kind of cool. So yeah, I'm always into I'm always keeping my eyes out for any like Pokemon-y type games.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's rad. Deep Rock Galactic, I've heard a lot of good about. Never gotten the chance to really look into it.
Yeah, it was on sale.
Would be a fun co-op
recently.
game.
Yeah, I think it was on sale for like $7 recently, and that's
it's
when
like 10 right now. So
oh hell yeah, let's go.
It's not too bad.
Yeah, not
let me go talk to my CFO. And really, it's just about time management.
Honestly, what you could do is be like, yeah, I'm doing some market analysis. I know we joked about that sometimes at work where it's like, well, we're playing another game. I actually, I was playing like games on Steam during the work hours earlier in the week, and people were walking by, and I'm like, this is work related, I swear. I am actually legitimately doing competitive market analysis right now, I swear.
That's like a friend of Ashland's works for a company that makes toys and stuff. Mm-hmm. So she works in design, so she would go shopping in the past at another company and just go shop around at clothing and get an idea. And now whenever she's out at the store, like we were at downtown Disney, she was working because she was going through all the toys and taking notes and seeing like, oh, like what's a cool idea and stuff. So it's really funny when it's like you can do things that seem like our play, but it's like, no, there's an analytical aspect of this that's very much work.
Yeah, exactly. That's that whole thing where people are like, what, you play video games all day? Like, no.
It's not mama's boy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, what's it like? Grandma's
Boy.
Yeah, that's the one where
Like,
there's like
so close. I'm so tired.
Hey, no worries. That's the one where there's like a dude like sitting there in like the ultimate chair, and he's got like 20
Yeah.
monitors. Turbo
Yeah.
gamer.
Yeah.
That was a good movie to watch when working in QA.
Yeah.
But real life is nothing like that. It kind of had the same vibe as Tighten Up the Graphics on level 3,
Yeah.
which is a fucking awesome one too.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah, people at work actually have referenced that sometimes, where it's like they put in like a a fix like change list or whatever, and they're like, yeah, I tightened up the graphics on level 3. It's like, oh, okay, sick. These graphics are tight now. Verified tight.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm glad that we got to discuss Hi-Fi Rush. I'm glad that we got the recommendation in. I'm going to be checking out Inscription real soon. And I'm glad we got to just talk about some games.
Absolutely.
Right on. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of FrameRate. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, I hope that y'all have a good one.